And welcome back. Montgomery County Council members are openly expressing skepticism about County Executive Mark Elrich's proposed tax increases. The promo materials cite concern over property taxes, reserve drawdowns, whether the residents can absorb more pain at a time when all we're already on high costs. One piece actually quotes Andrew Friedson calling the scales of the increase crazy, while another notes council hopes to void many of Mark Elrich's proposed tax increases. Mike, you've gone through this, you've lived through this, and you opined a couple of weeks ago on the program that the council may just ratchet down, but it seems like they're pretty angry about this particular budget. And are they just posturing for the election year, or are they actually going to take some heat in November?
Um, I think I think there is true frustration. I think the county executive did them a great disservice with the budget that he presented. He took not only did he increase taxes, but he also took money out of the reserve fund to fund ongoing expenses, which is generally the thing that everyone avoids trying to do. And so he put them in a box because he gave everybody basically the funding that they wanted based on putting in those tax increases and using the funds. And so this is always the language challenge that we have. So the budget that the county council has to address is they're not cutting the budgets. They're reducing the increase that the county executive has proposed, which is a very arcane and hard to put on a mailer. But the reality is that they will likely still end up increasing the budget. My concern is that what will happen is what typically happens, which is basically the county executive, by increasing the things as much as he did, effectively has provided cover for them to increase them less, but still increase them. And that tends to be the way that this goes. But I think right now what you're hearing is the final understanding of what the county executive presented, the recognition that now they're going to have to try to do this, and they're either going to have to reduce what people now are expecting to get, or come up with some kind of half-baked compromise that they're not going to want to do, but it's probably going to be the outcome.
So, all that is a given. Let's just say that that's a given. How does Mark Elrich run for at large with these kind of proposals that he's made, and can he win?
He's run on those for the last 20 years. He, I mean, that's the amazing thing is there is nothing in this budget that is different than anything that Mark Elrich has done in either being on the council or as county executive. And the reality is that the people that vote for Mark aren't particularly concerned about the budget. And he knows that and can basically put crazy ideas out there, and he comes away scot-free because he's still, at the end of the day, supporting their basically NIMBY efforts, or arguably, and I would argue this, somewhat progressive initiatives. And so those are the things that are more important than the actual fiscal sustainability of the county.
So, Mark, in the first segment, we talked about voter anger. I mean, families are already getting squeezed by groceries, utilities, housing costs. We hear a lot about affordability, but that means that's meaningless. When we hear from the county government, once again, higher taxes, higher taxes, higher taxes. Mike said, what's the thing you're going to put on your political postcard? Oh, the other guy raised your taxes 5%. I'm only going to raise it 3. Where are we going on this?
Well, I think you put your finger on the intense frustration that folks have and the real hunger that people have for answers. Again, we talked before about the $150 energy thing. I mean, what we're frequently getting is essentially sort of symbolic or gestures towards affordability as opposed to real efforts towards affordability. I mean, I not to digress, but having data centers could well be a game changer in terms of increasing revenues without increasing the cost for services. There are lots of things that we could be doing as a county or as a state that would ease the burden, but we're really not moving ahead as much as
Well,
we could.
we're reflexively trying to fight every proposal for economic development, like their hair's on fire. You
Right.
know, Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to just build on that. I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges that we have in the county right now is there is no economic growth. I mean, our economic growth has been flat for the last decade. And so when you look at that and our budgets have increased what 110% over the course of that time. And so when you look at that flat economic growth and 100%, 110% increase in your overall budgets, at some point people, that just doesn't work anymore and we just don't know how to have that conversation.
So, Mark, the exit kind of the exit question for both of you is, we talk about the divide between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, but it's the great middle. I mean, over 40% are independent voters. What is their reaction going to be when all they hear about is I'm not anti-government. I'm not anti-school. I'm not anti-service. I'm just exhausted because my taxes
Right.
keep going up and up. Are they going to react this year?
Well, the problem that they frequently have is the choices that they get to pick among are driven not by the registered voters, but by the registered voters that vote in the primary. And that's
Right.
typically about 25% or so of the overall enrollment. And so both parties, it's not just Democrats, both parties these days are really largely driven by trying to appeal to what is essentially 10% on each side of the voters, leaving a lot of people in the middle very frustrated and looking for answers.
Well, and Mike, you go ahead. You got the last question
No,
on this.
no, I would just say that if there is true independent frustration, that frustration has to be taken now, and it has to require those folks who are independents to register for one of the party primaries. Because by the time they all wake up in November to actually then engage, the ship has sailed and the choices are the choices. And that's where we need to get people in Montgomery County to understand that if you want to have an impact, you've got to register to vote in a primary and you've got to show up and vote.
Well, there's always been this movement that the Republicans have suggested registering as Democrats for the primary and then re-registering for the general. I don't know if it's very successful or not, but
But certainly the independents could take that approach and engage. And I'm not even saying, but pick one of them. But if you're an independent, you're effectively sitting it out until you point that it doesn't make a difference.